I'm Holly Dianich, and I got the name Holly because I was born near Christmas, and I had an aunt that thought that I should be named Holly, and that was unusual to name a child that at that time. But later I got used to the name, and I liked it because my birthday is so near Christmas. And I am 96 years old, and I'm still trying to write. And in fact, writing has been my main help in going on with projects that I would like to do yet. And the senior center that I go to just gives me so many opportunities to join classes and write, and I don't always feel my age. In fact, I don't feel it very often. It's only when I'm trying to maybe dance or do something that I shouldn't, by then I feel it. So I will I'll tell a little story about Christmas back when I was a child. And I guess I'll just read it since it will be easier. And I was a greedy little child, as you will see, but it wasn't my fault entirely because I was the youngest in the family by 10 years, and all the others had had their Christmas things, and I hadn't. So it was the night before Christmas. Oh, this is a story. That's not the one I meant to read. I want to read the one that I called Sweet Christmas. I think I must have been about 4 years old when I first became aware of a building excitement at a certain time of year in our house. My mother was spending an awfully lot of time in the kitchen. My 2 older sisters seemed to be awfully busy there, too. I could smell good things being made. But they disappeared from the kitchen immediately after they were made. I snooped around, and I found that everything was being stored in our cold pantry. I found platters of creamy white stuff that looked like cake icing, cookies hidden in tin cans, even some cake. I demanded to know why we weren't allowed to eat the goodies, especially that white stuff. Excuse me. After much teasing on my part, my sisters explained that everything was being planned for Christmas. If I were good, Santa would probably bring me some goodies for my stocking, maybe even a doll. Next time they made the white candy, they told me that it was called Divinity, and they let me lick the beaters. That year, I was given a stocking to hang. My father brought in a snowy pine tree into our sitting room, and my sisters decorated it with popcorn on strings and candles. The candles were only lighted once, and I was warned to stay far back. This was the only Christmas tree that I remember, but I do remember finding my stocking. I must have been quite pleased with the contents because I decided to hang it up again the next night to see if Santa Claus might come again. The next morning, there were a few more surprises. I asked myself, how good can things get? I'll try this again. I got up full of expectancy. I dashed down to a bulging stocking. Reaching in, I wanted to cry. My stocking was full of coal. I had heard that that was what bad children find. I didn't cry. I'd been greedy. I still think of the candy with the divine name, and many times I've tried to make it. It never tastes like it did when I was 4. I wanted to remark on what my father did for me, and I have that story, but I think it's in that red book, but never mind, I'll just tell it. We had moved from our home to a double house in the town of Albion, and my father had been working, and it was almost Christmas, and I was about 9 years old, and I didn't know anyone in the neighborhood yet, but I found that my parents weren't celebrating because my sisters and brothers had all married and all. They were going to have a dinner, but no Christmas tree. So I had to ask my father if he would please get a Christmas tree for me. So the night before Christmas, he got a long ladder, and we had a big pine tree, and in the dark he went up the ladder and cut off the top of the tree, and he didn't know how much he cut. So when he dragged it, it was too big to go in the house. But I thought my dad actually risked his life to bring a Christmas tree in for a greedy little girl.
Oh, he was happy to make his little girl happy, I'm sure.
And I always remember that tree, of course.